It's great to be here today. My name is Anthony Jackman. I'm Expedient's Vice President of Strategy and Innovation, and I lead the team that's responsible for all of our product development, product management, as well as a lot of our vendor relationships because Expedient really functions well by partnering with the best software and hardware companies in the business and creating really innovative solutions.
Hey guys, welcome back. Chad Blackwell again from Commvault.
And good afternoon. Again, George Axberg, Global Vice President of VAST Data for the Data Protection Division. Welcome everyone. Hey, Anthony, could you please take us through for our audience maybe a brief overview of who Expedient is and what it is that you do?
Sure. Expedient likes to describe ourselves as what we call a full stack cloud service provider. And really, what that means is it's not just some cloud compute that you swipe your credit card and then you run a workload. It's the cloud compute platform that we very thoughtfully designed to integrate well with all of the other products that we know enterprises need to use to really effectively run their workload. And we really cross a lot of areas here. Obviously, what we call enterprise cloud, this is our shared compute platform. We run this across our 14 data centers throughout the US. Uh, that's kind of the big bulk cloud shared model. On the other end of the spectrum, we have edge compute. Expedient Edge is a very small box. We can drop it in any client's data center, in a warehouse, really anywhere it needs to be, and give them a cloud operating model anywhere. And we also can take that to virtual desktops. So everyone knows since COVID, a lot of people are working from home, and this gives enterprises a great way to secure their end users. And then it's all the other services that go on top to make that a cohesive experience, right? How do we back those machines up? How do we recover them? How do we do disaster recovery? And then we even dip our toe into the modern workspace with things like cloud native or multi cloud management of the hyperscalers.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, sounds really complex here, and you guys are a great partner. But I'd like to understand. Tell the audience what were the principal drivers for you to really for Expedient to seek out a new solution when pulling this all together for your customers.
Sure. So when you think about what it takes to run backups at that scale, it is a lot of hardware and it is a lot of software. Expedient has hundreds of petabytes of client data backed up that we've been running for many years. And you know that infrastructure ages, infrastructure needs to be replaced, but we've got to do that in a way that's transparent to our clients. We've also got to do it in a way that's quite efficient for Expedient because the more efficiently we can work, the more value we can deliver back to our clients, and the lower we can drive the costs of our solution. So specifically here, we were on some aging backup infrastructure. It was time to refresh it, and we just didn't really have an appetite to go buy a bunch of spinning disks and to eat up tens or hundreds of cabinets of space and to chew up a bunch of power. We really wanted to find a more efficient way to make this transition.
Anthony, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the coverage that you have for our clients today?
Sure. The last slide that you up, it was kind of an icon soup, if you will. It really just talks about the number of products that are required to really build these solutions, and those solutions are available across our 14 data centers throughout the U.S. But again, we also can stretch that anywhere a client may need. So all of our data centers are interconnected with redundant 100 gig backbone. We also have 100 gig connections to all the hyperscalers to give our clients that low latency, high bandwidth connection to other services they may be using. But then again, we also have built and developed our products to really stretch outside of our four walls because our goal is to give clients a consistent operating experience no matter where their workload needs to run. And we don't want to dictate where a client's workload should run.
That's excellent. In my experience in working with Expedient, quite frankly, you've taken what could be considered to be quite complex, the ultimate sophistication, and made it extremely simple. Was there anything in particular that you gravitated towards with the Commvault VAST solution, or something you were looking for us to solve together that made it a decision, an easy one?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, you really hit it on the head there is that it is complex. Running this many bits and pieces with thousands of clients under the covers uh, can be complex, and we need to simplify it. When you talk about a backup infrastructure, you're talking about, as I said before, many cabinets, lots of networking involved, lots of iron. You have to bring in even the data center design people to figure out where you can land that power workload. So the more we could shrink that down, we take the complex and we make it simple. So we've partnered with Commvault for many years, and they have best of breed backup software that is making the software side of it simple. And then with VAST, what we've done is taken a formerly complex hardware design and made it out of the box. We just know it works. It's extremely dense. It's extremely easy to use. There's a lot of great telemetry around it. And probably most importantly, it's very performant. So we have actually increased our clients' service level without charging them anymore. It's the same service they've been subscribing to. We're going to give them a higher level of service and just deliver more value back to them.
That's great. Thanks. I mean, Anthony, I know you recently just deployed the solution, and George and I have been in a lot of meetings together about this joint partnership with Commvault and VAST. And are you able to share with everyone any benefits that you're already seeing from this joint solution between VAST Data and Commvault?
Sure. So first one is consolidation, which is really big. We've taken what previously was big and we've now made it small. Simplicity is certainly one, but where we really get into what's unique about it, it's in the amount of data reduction that we are seeing to further drive down costs. So our Commvault infrastructure for years compresses data, deduplicates data, seals it in a database. It works quite well. We get a good amount of data reduction. And everyone kind of knows once data has been reduced, you can't really reduce it again, typically. That has not been our experience with VAST. We took our Commvault data and we put it on VAST, and this wasn't some test data that we created in the lab. This was real world data for hundreds of tenants that we've been able to move over. And what we see is that we get roughly a 2 to 1 or even a little in excess of 2 to 1 data reduction on top of what Commvault has already given us. So that was one of the things that we didn't think we would see. Was kind of, we're not going to believe that until we see it, but fortunately that really did play out.
Wow.
The other thing that we saw was a validated, what I'd call extreme level of performance that was almost scientific. So when you get a quote from VAST, it kind of says right on the quote, "This is the performance you should expect." I always take that with a grain of salt. I've worked with a lot of vendors. Always take it with a grain of salt, and really never believe anything until you test it. So we put a system in place, and we again moved real client data. We kind of bulk loaded about a half a petabyte of data into a VAST system. Saw that 2 to 1 data reduction happening live. But more importantly, the ingest rate exceeded what VAST told us it would, and it exceeded it for a long period of time. Meaning, we saw, you always have that initial ingest that is pretty great, and then it'll typically dive down over time. We maintained a consistent write rate for over 24 hours straight and ingested a half a petabyte of data into what is actually a small VAST system. It was just our test. So that validated the right numbers. And then from a backup perspective, everyone cares about recovery. So read is very, very important. And we were also able to validate the read numbers by rehydrating that data to a different platform. So we brought it in from platform A and we pumped it out to platform B. And again, the numbers that we saw actually slightly exceeded what VAST told us it would do.
That's great. I mean, George, proverbial fist pump, because those are numbers that we saw, or we were told, the additional deduplication and things of that nature that we got out of the lab. But hearing it, from Anthony here in Expedient just takes it to another level.
I agree, especially around the instant recovery capabilities. That's what really gets us all excited. We're in this business for a reason. It used to be all about backup, certainly not all about recovery. And I think our partnership is really, showing the performance levels that we've kind of expected. But I think Expedient's experience has been one that we're really proud of. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right. Well, we've got some audience questions here. Anthony, One of them here, they're wondering, were there any surprises during the testing or deployment phases?
The surprises was really just that it went quite well. You know, anytime you bring on a new product, there are always hiccups, there are always hangups. That's just the nature of the business. It's not even necessarily a negative thing. It just happens. It was a surprise to us how smooth it went from platform launch to deploying the architecture that Commvault and VAST had jointly designed, and then also to the, as I mentioned earlier, the actual deduplication rate and the actual performance rate for ingest of data. Uh, it was quite surprising to us that all those things tick the exact boxes that they were supposed to.
Um, how do you expect that your customers will benefit from the solution?
So our customers are going to benefit. First off, availability of data is always number one. A key role in backup is you do not lose data, and data must always be available. This is a very robust solution, both in terms of data durability and availability. So our clients are going to continue to benefit from that. They always have it Expedient, but this is kind of taking it to the next level. And again, we are also increasing their service level in terms of what they can expect for both backup times as well as restoration times. You know, this is all data that was previously sitting on spinning disks, and we are effectively upgrading these clients' environments at zero cost to them. It's completely transparent. They don't see that any change is happening. It's all behind the scenes. Expedient is dealing with that. And we've effectively modernized our clients' backup infrastructure on their behalf.
Yeah, you mentioned some of those durability and availability features that are different with this solution. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Sure. Unique to VAST's architecture is that it is a lot of data in a very small space, and it is highly resilient from many disk failures without creating a lot of overhead. So, some of VAST's unique innovations with the way they do locally decodable erasure codes and things like that allow us to have a high level of durability where you could lose multiple disks in a system and a client is not going to know that that's happened. That's on us Expedient to just replace the disks, allow that data to rebuild. The important part there is that it's doing it with only a couple percent overhead. Now, why does a client care about that? Well, that translates to a lower cost to them over time. So, very unique solution that's really delivering a lot of value.
Gotcha. Oh, that's great. Thanks. You also mentioned the scale, of your operation, and it sounded like the half a petabyte. Did you say that was a test?
That
Just
that was
getting that data?
Correct. That was a test. That was roughly what we thought we could fit into one appliance. Turns out after dedupe we could have fit a lot more, but
Oh, well.
we moved it over into the appliance as a test. Across Expedient's landscape, we have many multiples of that in current backup data sitting on Commvault.
Yeah, so I'm curious with that too. I mean, that's so much scale. I think it'd be interesting for our audience too. Like, how long did it take you to sort of set it up? Was it time consuming to start the process, or did that go pretty quickly?
The longest part of the process was going through purchasing, shipping, physically receiving the gear. Actually, standing it up was pretty easy. So the way VAST does deployments, it's a very intentional design. We worked through a site survey with our solution architect that went into everything so much as how many inches of space are in front of the cabinet so that we knew when that server showed up, it was going to fit into the cabinet appropriately. All the wiring diagrams were taken care of, and VAST dispatched um, an installer to our site that worked through all of this, that labeled every cable, that plugged it in, that ran the launch script. And it really came up as we expected it to. And because we had done that pre launch survey, all of our networking was configured ahead of time to just accept the system. So we went from, unboxing servers to fully functional system in, call it 4 or 5 hours.
Oh, wow, very nice. Okay. Um, and obviously your business is growing. As your environment grows, how do you anticipate the solution will grow?
So we've designed it from the start to expand to kind of mass scale. So from a network perspective, we've designed it assuming that this is going to grow to hundreds of petabytes one day, and that's kind of the beauty of the system is, you know, Commvault's abstracting what's behind the scenes. It's kind of just pointed at a data store, and it's gonna write to VAST. And from VAST's perspective, when we need to expand, we call them up and say if we just need more capacity and not more performance, they ship us a D box. We plug it in, we join it to the system, and it's going to transparently move data where it needs to go and just grow our capacity. If we see, hey, we need a little bit more performance, we're going to add some of those C nodes in, or the front end, and that'll easily allow us to deliver more performance if we need it.
Nice. And maybe Anthony, a last question for you. Just do you have any tips for anybody who's considering the Commvault or VAST solution, like best practices, in your experience from going through the
Yeah,
process?
I do. This one's easy. Read the best practices guide that was put together by Commvault and VAST. It really has a lot of detail in it, and I will say that we independently validated what was stated in that document. Things like the dedupe block size. Hint: the one you should use is not what you would think you should use to get max data reduction. So they did testing in their labs, and they really thought this out quite well. So I guess the takeaway is you don't have to do a lot of thinking. Really read the guide, talk to VAST and Commvault directly, and my advice would be to implement it as it has been designed, as we found that to be the best design with the highest performance and the greatest data reduction ratio.
Gotcha. Super. Yeah, and I guess last question for George and Chad. Any thoughts? As far as if people want to get started with the solution, sort of based on some of the stuff that Anthony's talked about here. What's the best way for them to move forward?
Chad, if I may first, first of all, Anthony, thank you so much. Your comments were fantastic, and actually how you summarize at the end, it's a great endorsement of what Chad and I just spoke about in the previous presentation. That the validation work is being done, right? It's being done. It's continuously being done. We actually have a roadmap together, and that we're not letting customers kind of go it alone. That being said, Scott, where's the first place to start? Well, it could be directly with your channel partner. It could also be directly with your Commvault or VAST representative. And we can certainly both help out in making sure that we get together. And there you go. You see that you've got the link there to talk about how we would work together on a similar solution to what we've deployed at Expedient.
Yep. Thanks, George. And again, I'll echo that. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate the partnership. I echo, like, reach out to your channel partner, reach out to my partner team in the field, to Vast Data's partner team in the field. And quite honestly, we encourage everybody listening to, ask for a meeting jointly between our three companies. And we would love to, show you what the solution has to offer.
All right, great. Well, Chad, George, and especially Anthony, thank you all three for the session, and really appreciate the from the trenches experience there.
Great. Thank you.
Scott.
Thanks, Scott.